Welcome to Interp Day 3. So we've got a lot of work done, right? We've read the script a lot of times. We've looked at character. We've identified who the characters are and what their primary objective is so we know what they want, and that will inform how we play them. I want to talk now about voice. Remember, you have three main tools to work with when you're an actor: your voice, your face, and your body. I want to start with voice because in speech and debate, that really is sort of the most important one. So let's talk about how the voice works. You have a voice box. It's also called a larynx. Some people call it an Adam's apple, and some people say women don't have them, but they do. They're just smaller, which is one reason female voices tend to be higher than male voices. So if you run your hand down here, you can probably feel it. It's the sort of knot that's in your throat. You know where it is. And it's shaped like a signet ring, which, I happen to have several of right here. So it looks like this. Yeah, and it sits on your throat. Oh, I'll turn it over. One, state champions. All right, so it sits on your windpipe, which is called your trachea. So imagine my hand is the trachea. It sits on top of that, and on top of the larynx is a flap, so that when you swallow food or water, it covers it up so that it can't go into your lungs and kill you. So that's a good thing. And inside your larynx, right, when the flap is open, your vocal cords are in there and can move, and you can send air through them, and that's how you make sound. So they're actually ligaments, right? And they're sometimes called vocal folds, and they're sort of shaped like this, and they come in and out like that depending on the kind of sound you're making. So you send air through them, and that's how you make sound. One way to demonstrate that, you can just do this as a mental exercise. If you have a balloon and you blow it up really big, and then you stretch the neck of the balloon that you blew into, then you get this high-pitched sound coming out, and what's making that sound is the vibration of the rubber of the balloon. It's the same thing with your vocal cords. You send air through them from your lungs, and when you engage them, you cause them to vibrate, which makes sound. Sound that you produce from your larynx, from your vocal cords, has two characteristics. It has pitch and it has shape. So let's talk about pitch. You know what that means. It's the highness or lowness of a tone. So if I asked you to do this, you could do this. Go from your highest note to your lowest note. It would be like, ooh, right? You have that whole range of pitch that you can use in your performance. It's all available to you. So understand that, number one. Pitch is one of the qualities. The other quality is shape. You shape the sound, you shape the column of air that goes into your mouth using your teeth, your lips, your cheeks, your jaws, your soft palate. So here's how you need to understand it. Your trachea is this column. It's just like a tube, right? And the air that you send through your vocal cords, if you don't shape it, if you just relax your jaw and you just make a sound, it's the schwa sound, right? But then you actually send that column of air up into your oral and nasal cavities, right? And you use the muscles in your face and your teeth and your tongue to shape it. And so what you hear, actually, when you hear an E vowel, you're hearing a shape. I'm shaping it into E vowel, so it comes out of my mouth in the shape of E, and it hits your eardrums, and your eardrums interpret it as E because they pick up on the shape of that sound. That's a crazy thing to realize, right? But that's what you're doing. You're shaping the sound. So you have a lot of shapes to work with. If you think about the inside of your mouth, you've got this tongue that can move in all kinds of ways to change the shape of the air that's coming out. You also have your soft palate. So imagine I'm looking this way. If I raise my soft palate, that does a thing like I'm yawning, right? So you can do that. So you have a lot of shapes to play with. So one, you have pitch. Two, you have shapes. Here's how you find out all of the shapes. If you do this, it's humiliating, right? Like if I made you do that in front of people, I just did it on the internet. But that you have all of those colors to play with, and that's a way of thinking of it. If you think of your character as a painting, one kind of color you can use is pitch, another kind is shape, and that's where you get accents and tones and things like that. So I want you to think about those things as we move into looking at your characters. And how do you do that? Well, each character gets their pitch and their shape. If your piece has a narrator, the narrator typically is you, unless the narrator is one of the characters and is like a kid in the show or whatever, then you might need to give him a kid voice. Yeah, like you take your voice up here and then whatever. But typically the narrator is you, and then each of the other characters needs to have their own distinct voice. Again, this may be different in poetry because you may not have a bunch of characters. In dramatic interp, typically you only have one character. That's the current style. So if you only have one character, it may not be you. It might be your voice, but it may be a specific voice that's not yours. So what I want you to do now is go through your script, look at each of those characters, and then identify the pitch and the shape. And the way you do that is you decide, is this a high character, a low character, or a neutral character? Yeah, you give him that pitch. So I'm gonna look at this little kid and I'm gonna give him a high pitch, so it's like this. Now I have to ask, where is he from? Where's this kid from? Is he English? Maybe I give him a British accent, and he's a little poor orphan or something like that, right? So you want to look at the characters and identify pitch and shape. How do you give each character a unique pitch and shape? Well, you got to put all the color on the palette to see how to mix them. And the way you do that is by making sounds. If you want to go to a practice room and do this, you can, or if you want to get some buddies together and do it together so you all feel ridiculous together, that's okay too. But what you need to do really is figure out, well, where are my high notes, where are my low notes? Probably what will happen is during class when you guys are doing this, I'll just take you all in and do that at this point. Step 2 is to look back at your notes over those characters and figure out, okay, well, what's appropriate for this character? Is this a good character or a bad character? Do bad guys sound different? Think about Disney villains. They all sound like Scar, right? Or well, yeah, they kind of all sound like Scar. So Scar, Jafar, all of the bad guys sort of have that same sort of, they're typically British with a low voice like this, and they're slow speakers. Right? Are they a rough character or a smooth character? Are they a high-pitched character or low, a high energy, low energy? Are they a big character? So look at the characters and figure out what's appropriate for them. Pick from your color palette, what's their pitch, what's their shape. Step 3. Now that you've given each of your characters the specific pitch and shape of their sound, I need you to assign a color to each of your characters. Then find a highlighter or a marker or even a crayon that is that color. Now you're going to go through your script and you're going to highlight each of your characters' lines in their color. So as you go through the script later, you'll know, oh, this is yellow, this sounds like this. So every time I see yellow, I talk like this, or whatever it is. So do that now. Great. Step 4, go for a walk. You've got 5 minutes. Be back before the alarm goes off. Welcome back. Step 5, I need you to make a voice memo. I know. But here's what I want you to do. You can go to a practice room or a corner or outside or a rehearsal area and do this privately if you want, or just find a wall and do this to a wall in the classroom. You're going to record yourself saying the first line of each character in that character's voice. Now, listen, this isn't set in stone. This may change as we go through the coaching process, but for right now, I just need you to go through your script with your voice memo. Let's say the character's name, say the line. If the first line is bah humbug, and it's Ebenezer Scrooge, I'm going to say, bah, humbug. And that's it. Then I'm going to go on to the next characters. Then, at the end of the hour, you'll show me your script that you have now colored, and you will airdrop me your voice memo that has all of your character voices. Have fun storming the castle.